we cooperate, the more likely that we find a cure and find it quickly. And that's something we all want to see.
Tonight, Ottawa announces Canada's contribution to combating COVID-19 globally.
They're even more entrenched now in exploitation because there's no place for them to go for even the basic needs of life.
Winnipeg advocates renew the call for a 24-hour safe space for women and children.
They are so hungry, and now when we go down there, we're starting to get to know the people, and they just love it.
And the Aboriginal Mother Centre delivers stew and bannock to Vancouver's downtown Eastside. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. In a surprising turn of events, Nunavut is once again the only province or territory without a single case of COVID-19. Last week, the government of Nunavut announced a positive test for the virus in Pond Inlet, Nunavut, but today they announced that the test was wrong and further testing cleared the patient. There are now no recorded cases of COVID-19 in Nunavut. Their premier explains.
Last week's result was a false positive. I'm sure many people are very relieved, especially the individual, their families, and the community of Pond Inlet.
But the news is not so good in Saskatchewan, where despite moves to reopen businesses in the south, the provincial government has confirmed 34 new COVID-19 cases in the far north. 29 of the 34 cases are in the La Loche area and surrounding communities. The area is predominantly Dene, Cree, and Métis. The other cases are further south, one in Saskatoon. So far, 6 people have died as a result of the COVID-19 virus in Saskatchewan. And to Ottawa today, the Prime Minister announced a new multi-million-dollar commitment during a video conference with international leaders. As Todd Lamoran reports, it's to speed up treatment and develop a vaccine for COVID-19.
The Prime Minister says Canada will spend $850 million to fight COVID-19 internationally. The funding will be spread out to domestic and foreign organizations.
The more we cooperate, the more likely that we find a cure and find it quickly. And that's something we all want to see.
During her press conference, Health Minister Patty Hajdu said international cooperation on a vaccine is vital.
It is almost like a race, but a race where you want everyone to be able to cross the finish line at once. And so we know here in Canada that as long as COVID is raging out of control in another country, Canadians will not be safe.
The COVID briefing also had to answer about 2 cell phone towers that were set on fire in Quebec. A popular conspiracy theory is that they can spread the COVID virus.
We as a government are working very hard to push back against that disinformation. I think that's why all of us are here right now. And I would like to really also recognize the very important role the provinces and public health officials in the provinces are playing in that effort.
Trudeau was asked about federal support for hard-hit industries. This after Air Canada posted a first quarter loss of just over $1 billion.
I think of the airline industry, I think of the tourism sector, I think of the energy sector, and other significant sectors that will require more support on that. We will be looking at sectoral supports. We will be making announcements on that in the coming days or week.
Dr. Theresa Tam again urged caution as provinces begin to reopen parts of the economy and society, and to be prepared to tighten the rules again if more outbreaks flare up. Todd Lamoran, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Gull Bay First Nation in Northern Ontario has confirmed another case of COVID-19 in its community, bringing the number of known cases there to 9. On Friday, residents were notified that a band staffer who worked at the community's medical checkpoint had tested positive but did not have any symptoms. Contact tracing is underway. Council officials say forcing exposed workers into 14-day quarantine will change operations at the checkpoint. They'll be using infrared cameras to keep tabs on activity there. We want to hear what you think about the outbreaks in various Indigenous communities. We want to hear your perspective. Here's how. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/APTN News. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Indigenous news. Saskatchewan First Nation in Northern Ontario has declared a state of emergency as it prepares for the annual flood risk from the Albany River. Chief Leo Friday told the Ontario government his community needs emergency shelters. About 1,000 people are already out in the bush isolating from COVID-19, but those remaining in the community will need somewhere to shelter in the event of flooding. Friday has also requested personal protection equipment, cooking resources, and support for moving people out of the community if necessary. Fort McMurray, Alberta residents there are marking the anniversary of the fires that devastated that community 4 years ago. At the same time, the city is reeling with the aftermath of devastating floods.
House after house after house, building after building has been affected by this.
More than 80,000 people in the area were forced out of their homes in 2016. Now the community is cleaning up from flooding. The last evacuation orders in nearby Wood Buffalo were lifted this weekend, allowing people to come home. 13,000 residents living in low-lying areas were displaced. The city is still under a boil water advisory. At least one person died as a result of the floods. Last week, Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and the federal and provincial governments announced that they had reached a deal on Wet'suwet'en rights and title, but immediately after, the 5 elected Wet'suwet'en First Nations stated that they were not consulted and are not approving anything until they are. Lee Wilson reports.
Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs and the federal and BC governments are now scheduled to sign the document over rights and title on May 14th. But elected Wet'suwet'en leadership are calling for Canada and BC to withdraw from the joint agreement because they weren't properly consulted.
The date's coming up here pretty quick, so that's why we, the elected officials, were getting together here to see what we can do to try to get them to basically pull out of the agreement there until everything's properly talked through with all of the nations.
Because of COVID-19 restrictions, meetings with elected and hereditary chiefs and clan members to talk about the deal were delayed. And the elected chiefs say they only had one preliminary meeting with no proper consultation. Robert Skin, a counselor from the Skin Tyee Band, said they only got to see one incomplete document at the meeting that took place.
We went over it really quick, and none of us that attended the meeting. We had chief and council up there. We had hereditary chiefs from our band, a few of our elders, and some members. I think we were more confused after we left.
The hereditary chiefs opposed the construction of the 670-kilometer liquefied natural gas pipeline. A large section runs through their territory. They have been in a land dispute with the pipeline builder, Coastal GasLink. APTN called the hereditary chiefs, but did not receive a comment. Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Smithers, British Columbia.
Still lots on the go in that territory. We need to take a short break, but still ahead, calls for a 24/7 safe space for women, children, and two-spirits leaving violent domestic situations during this pandemic. First, though, here's a look at tomorrow's weather for the east and central parts of the country. On the east coast, we've got 4 and rain in St. John, 7 and rain in Halifax. La Grande River, 2 and mostly sunny skies. Kuujjuaq -4 and sunshine. Chibougamau, mix of sun and cloud and 3 degrees. Rouyn-Noranda and Val-d'Or, 7 and sunshine. Ottawa, sunny and 10 degrees, 9 and sunshine for North Bay. Sioux Lookout, 13 and sunny. Thunder Bay, sunshine and 9. 2s for Puckatawagan and Thompson and sunny skies, 9 and sunshine for the Paw. 11 in rain for Winnipeg and Brandon, 13 in rain for Dauphin. 17 in rain for Swift Current, North Battleford, sunshine and 16 degrees. Buffalo Narrows, sunny and 13. Meadow Lake, 16 and sunshine. Uranium City, sunny and 6. Welcome back. Since the pandemic hit Manitoba nearly 2 months ago, many service providers have shut their doors, and that's resulting in a risk for vulnerable women with few spaces to turn to. This has renewed the call for a 24/7 safe space for women, children, and two-spirit people who are fleeing violent situations. Brittany Hobson brings us this.
Advocates in Winnipeg are renewing the call for a 24/7 safe space amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. As many shelters and drop-in centers have had to cut back services, Isabel Daniels says women, children, and Two-Spirit people need a space now more than ever.
They're even more entrenched now in exploitation because there's no place for them to go for even the basic needs of life, and that's just it. Even wash your hands, never mind take a shower.
There are 2 domestic violence shelters in the city and a handful of places people experiencing homelessness can go. But Daniel says none of these are tailored to address the needs of sexually exploited adults.
Domestic violence shelters do not accept women who are victims of exploitation because they're not victims of spousal abuse. And for homeless shelters, a lot of our women don't go there because they're either further victimized in those shelters or they get ousted by other people.
Daniels has been advocating for a 24/7 safe space for several years. She is part of a subcommittee of volunteers who has appealed to all levels of government to help fund the space, only to be denied. NDP MP Leah Gazan is providing her support for the project. During a virtual parliamentary meeting, Gazan pressed the federal government to fund the space.
The failure of the federal government to not only heed the calls for justice of the national inquiry, but also really appreciate the life and death matter that we're faced with in Winnipeg, we will not stop until we get this space.
The need for a low-barrier space is one of the calls for justice from the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Daniel says without a safe space, the cycle of violence will continue.
This is generational trauma that we're dealing with. And if we don't start helping women get off the street, if we don't help them change their life, we're only going to see another generation of kids stuck in exploitation. We're going to see another generation of kids going into CFS care.
Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
There are no shortage of stories about frontline heroes risking their lives to help others. Tina House caught up with another group of unsung heroes who are taking matters into their own hands and helping to feed the most vulnerable in society.
Food preparation is well underway at the Aboriginal Mother Centre Society in East Vancouver, and beef vegetable stew in Bannock is on the menu, as staff are preparing 200 meals for people on the downtown Eastside. With many of the frontline services shut down over COVID-19 restrictions, the non-profit organization is one of the only groups that is still down here feeding people Monday to Friday. Sarah Thomas, who oversees helping people that are homeless not only find homes but also have support programs, says that going down to the streets to help is so needed right now and recalls the first time going there.
We bought over 50 pizzas and we went and got 40 hot dogs and pop, and it was gone within 5 minutes, and they are so hungry. And now when we go down there, we're starting to get to know the people, and they just love it.
Along with handing out food, they also hand out care packages of hand sanitizer, masks, gloves, and antibacterial wipes. For Executive Director Maura Gowans, helping others in this time of crisis is her way of paying it forward.
We're out here because a lot of us have our own lived expertise, and it was our duty and responsibility. I'm a step away from being there. I've been there, and I couldn't just leave them and not do anything to even just to let them know that there's somebody that cares, that we have people here that care.
And it's that care for the community that is the heart of the operation. Here, located at Wall and Dundas Street, is the offices for AMCS. 16 assisted living units are located upstairs for single moms and their babies. AMCS offers a wide range of programs, including learning parenting skills and support programs. Cultural drumming circles are a daily event, as well as traditional beading and cedar weaving programs are offered at the center. And once a week, they also offer a food bank program for up to 75 elders.
We go and deliver each of the meals to them. And there's enough food in here for about a week. So we try to make it as nutritional and stuff that can last.
And now the soup is ready. The meals are all packed up, and it's time to head downtown. Once on site, 2 wagons are packed with individual servings, ready to hand out.
Okay?
Yeah, very good.
Awesome. Take care.
AMCS has numerous partners that offer food donations, including the Vancouver Food Bank. And Luma Native Housing Society has also jumped on board to help financially. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Okay, thank you.
I need to see more of that. Well, it's time for another break, but coming up, pandemic or not, spring is a dangerous time for some wildlife. We'll talk to a group that's working to protect newborn critters from outside dangers. But first, here is the rest of tomorrow's weather forecast, this time for the west and the north. To Alberta now, we've got 7 in sunshine for Fort Chip, 19 and sunny in Fort McMurray. 18 in sunshine for Edmonton, 16 for Medicine Hat and Lethbridge. Campbell River, 17 degrees and sunny skies, same with Victoria, 18 in sunshine for Vancouver. Prince Rupert, 12 and rain, 14 in rain for Fort Nelson. Dawson City, 15 in sunny skies, same with Beaver Creek, 12 in rain in Whitehorse. Wrigley, rain and 6 degrees, Yellowknife and Wauhee, sunshine and 7. Inuvik, snow and 0 degrees, same with Fort McPherson. Colville Lake, -4 and sunny. Chesterfield, -8 and snow. Whale Cove, mix of sun and cloud, -9 degrees. Igloolik, -9 and snow. Joe Haven, -10 and snow. Pangertung, -7 and sunny. Welcome back. Task forces have been created in provinces and territories to help protect communities from the spread of COVID-19. One group in the Yukon has been protecting their community long before this pandemic started. Chris McIntyre catches up with the Selkirk First Nation safety officers.
When the Selkirk First Nation safety officers team was formed in 2019, team leader Darcy Marcotte never expected he'd be protecting his community from a pandemic.
I did see something happening in the future, you know, with setting up an emergency response plan, preparedness, getting ready for, you know, the potential of forest fires, maybe flooding. But as far as a pandemic, it was never crossed my mind.
Marcotte says over the last year, their team has grown in officers, jurisdiction, and community support. Now that COVID-19 has reached the Yukon, the safety officers have had to make adjustments to their duties.
We're still educating people on a daily basis about the social distancing, you know, not to be gathering in groups of 10, you know, trying to get the word out there as well to the citizens that if you are leaving the community for essential services, we have a contact person with our CERT team to contact them, let them know where you're going and when you'll be back. You know, we're monitoring vehicles that come into the community that are not from here. You know, we've been patrolling the highways.
However, the safety officers aren't alone in this fight. Selkirk First Nation Chief Sharon Nelson says the whole community is stepping up.
We had to put a community emergency response team together. We appointed a lead, and we have other members of Selkirk First Nation staff, mostly directors and managers who are part of that team. We have an occupational health and safety specialist and communications advisor, communications staff, and we also have invited other members or organizations in the community, such as the local health center. The nurse in charge is part of the team, the RCMP, the local school, and Yukon College as needed.
Although the community has yet to get its first case of the virus, the message remains the same as it does throughout the territory.
We want to ensure that everybody tries to do their part, our citizens and in addition to our staff and the chief's efforts and the chief medical officer and Yukon government's efforts, that everybody tries to do their part, and together we can do this and we can keep our Yukon safe.
Chris McIntyre, APTN National News, Pelly Crossing.
With spring bringing warmer temperatures, it's also time for many species to have their babies. Unfortunately, some end up orphaned or injured. An institute in Alberta is trying to help and is looking to public generosity to keep them going. Chris Stewart has more.
Each year, animals become orphaned or injured. Birds fly into windows, and infant animals lose their parents to hunters or accidents, and they need someplace to go. For Calgary in southern Alberta, these animals could find themselves at the Alberta Institute for Wildlife Conservation. There, their hospital can treat them, feed them, and release them back to the wild. Holly Lilly is the executive director of the nonprofit, which relies solely on donations and grants. They are currently raising funds for their 9th annual Wildlife Baby Shower.
So each year we see over 1,000 wildlife babies, and they can be anything from white-tailed prairie hares, also called jackrabbits, to black bear cubs, to moose calves, to nestling robins, to fledgling tree swallows. So a huge variety of animals we see come to our wildlife hospital each year. And all of the funds raised through a wildlife baby shower will be used to purchase food and medications and help care for them.
Lily says buying formulas for so many different species is expensive.
Because we see so many different species, each year we actually see about 150 different species of wildlife. We have to have very specific nutritional guidelines for them so that we're meeting all of their needs. And so we have to order a lot of specialized formula. We can't replicate the mother's milk, and we see, an assortment of baby mammals. So we have to order black bear formula and moose calf formula. And all of these obviously cost a lot of money, and we go through a lot of formula as well.
Lily says that COVID-19 has caused a decline in donations, but their work isn't slowing down.
Even though, the pandemic has been a huge crisis to humans, we haven't seen a slowdown in our operations. So in fact, the demand for our services has increased. So compared to this time last year, we've actually seen a 53% increase, which is a huge amount for us, and we're not even in our busy season yet.
The Institute is hoping that anyone who can afford to donate will do so. You can donate on their website or on their social media. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Your daily dose of cute. Well, it's been 15 years since Stephanie Myers took the world by storm with the best-selling Twilight saga, which of course was popular in Indian country too, with the heroic werewolves from the Quileute tribe being defenders against bloodthirsty vampires in their territory. Now the author has announced the long-awaited prequel novel called Midnight Sun. The book is set to release on August 4th and is narrated from the vampire Edward Cullen's point of view. Myers had started writing the book more than a decade ago, but shelved the project after parts of it had been leaked online. To date, the books have sold more than 100 million copies worldwide and were adapted into a major movie franchise. I'm, of course, Team Jacob. That is your news for this Monday, May 4th. Hope you're all taking care. Be sure to visit our website, aptnnews.ca, for COVID coverage that affects our people and communities. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a great night.